A couple of people sent me the video, the final play last night, where there was a blocked field goal and the Patriots won. You'll see the official push Dante Hightower out of the way. He was going to be over the center, and I guess you can be flagged for that because it's for safety reason, trying to protect the center. And from what I was told by the NFL, it's a common practice. The official will move the player over just to remind him you're not allowed to be over center. So I was curious about that. Dean Blandino is the head of officials for the NFL. He joins us now. So, Dean, this is a common courtesy that the officials do during these plays?
It's a common mechanic. This is something, because it's a safety rule, the official, the umpire specifically, he's positioned, and his job is to watch the center and make sure the players aren't over the center. And so before the snap, he will typically tap the player, make sure that lane is clear. This is preventative officiating that we've been doing ever since this rule is in place, and in other areas as well.
But this is a common occurrence that officials will always say to the player, don't line up over the center?
Remind them, you can't line up over the center, tap them, move them out of there. That's something that has been common practice. Absolutely.
Okay. Is there any other plays, scenarios where an official will do something based on safety precautions like this?
Well, there's always, throughout the game, there's going to be times when officials will warn players when they feel like technique is pushing the envelope, and so that's something that consistently happens throughout the game. There are other non-safety areas similar to a wide receiver lining up on or off the line of scrimmage. The line of scrimmage official will point out where the line is so that they can line up properly. So there's a lot of interaction between players and officials throughout the game that is designed to prevent fouls, and this is one of those situations.
As far as the number of flags, looking at the games, I don't know if you got a good read now after six weeks, but is there anything that concerns you about the number of flags that are thrown or the number of plays where we do see flags?
Well, I don't think the numbers concern me. It's more the consistency, and we have to make sure that our officials are calling these fouls consistently, and when there is a violation that we recognize it, and when it's legal technique, we don't flag it. So these are points of emphasis when we're talking about downfield contact, and it's on both sides, not just defense. Mm-hmm. Offensive pass interference is a point of emphasis. And so we're just continually working on making sure that these calls are consistently officiated, and it's not just the sheer numbers that we look at. It's whether when calls are made, are they correct calls, and that's something we do throughout each week, and we look at every call of every game.
Explain to me the Vontaze Burfict fine. That here he is twisting ankles. You have video proof of that. That it seems to be different than. You can find somebody for a hit. This seems like it's above and beyond the call of duty. Why not a suspension? Why just a fine for Burfict?
Well, that's out of my realm in officiating. What we do is our part of the fine process is we identify the plays. We say, yes, that is a violation, and then we pass it along to our group in football operations that deals with the player fine. So that's something that officiating really doesn't have a say in, but we certainly did feel that those were violations, and that's why they were referred for potential discipline.
Why would he be suspended for that? I mean,
it's something that we have to look at. You're looking at the what the player did, his history, and all of that goes into the decision. And obviously, the people that made that decision felt that he was that it didn't warrant a suspension. But certainly, as players continue to repeat offenders, the discipline will ramp up as they move forward. That does happen.
And the Kaepernick fine was it was language. It wasn't the N-word. It wasn't something that was even more egregious.
Well, that Kaepernick was penalized for threatening abusive language, and we look at, our officials are looking for the context, and is it threatening, is it abusive, and that's what he was flagged for and then ultimately fined for. And again, during the appeal process, the player gets a chance to give his side of the story, and then the appeals officer makes a decision. So what was said, that's between the player and the official and the appeals officer. But he was flagged for abusive language, and and there aren't particular words that will necessarily create that flag. It's the context in which they're used.
Oh, I thought that this was like basically the racial rule here, or kind of language like that. So that's not the case with this?
No, that's not the case. It's the rule hasn't changed, and it's sportsmanship has always been a point of emphasis, but it's abusive, threatening, or insulting language directed at your opponent. And there aren't particular words that will trigger a foul. It's how those words are used. And so there aren't any magic words that officials are listening for. It's how those words are used, and is it done in an abusive manner toward the opponent? And that's what will constitute a foul for unsportsmanlike conduct or taunting.
We appreciate you joining us on short notice. Thank you, Dean.
All right, Dan. Take care.
That's Dean Blandino, head of officials in the NFL.